What is up, Rocco and Trading Trends Nation? We are back. I traded in the crutches for a dog, but also the stomach flu. So it's been a week. Still no baby. Officially on watch. I have definitely felt better, but things sometimes take longer than you wish for a comeback, and that's what's happening with the market too. A lot has happened. Let's get into it. Today I'm doing stocks because I know I'll get to another video this week with the ETFs because a lot of damage has been done. But I wanted to look at some stocks today. We'll obviously, of course, open with SPX. But first, let's share the doc here. But yeah, it's been a week, man. It has been a week for all of us. So here you go. The summary of today. Verizon, which has been on a heck of a run. We'll take a look at the chart. Delta and Disney all off by more than 5%. For some of Verizon, that's a huge move, although it's had a huge run lately. We'll take a look. And Delta, we'll see that there's a lot of dispersion today between the airlines. Southwest is now, I think they said not, they're charging going forward now for bag check. And that sent the store, one of the things, sent that stock ripping. And a lot of the other airlines, though, we'll look at another one that went in the opposite direction. And Disney got hammered. And Southwest, there you go, foreshadowing. That was really shorter than I thought. The meds are still working, so I'm going to have a hard time finding words and piecing thoughts. But markets, I think I can. Yeah. Okay. And Southwest Air Soars at 9%. All right. So let's take a look. Mickey doesn't know what's going on. Thankfully, it looks like these planes are going to land. I don't know. They're fine. So better than reality, I guess. All right. So let's switch. I felt better, man. I felt better. S&P is in a scary place. Really scary place. Let's look at So Tesla, a big move today, but I mean, that thing's been absolutely hammered all the way down to 230. It was up 3.5, almost 4% today. Meta, still a great stock. Apple got hammered today, down 2.9. That's a big move for Apple. Palantir, nice gain of 2%. Broadcom up 3, Netflix up 3, but that's off of its highs. MicroStrategy's a big move, up 9% with Bitcoin at 83K. Overall, stocks, from this lens, do not look great. Some of the standouts are Apple doesn't look awful today. It looks a little worse, but it's not awful. Meta is still a good buy. Palantir, these look good. Broadcom, Netflix, that's HYG, high yield ETF. And that's about it. All the rest I wouldn't really happily own right now. So that includes Tesla, NVIDIA, IWM, Amazon, Microsoft, the IVV, which is S&P. Don't want to own it right now. And we'll see. We'll tell you why in a second. Because nothing good, like my buddy JC Press says, nothing good happens under the 200-day moving average. MicroStrategies don't really want to, and that's specific to MicroStrategies. I'm not speaking for Bitcoin right now. We can pull that up later. And like I said, VOO, Google, don't want to own those. All right. So now let's zoom out here, and now hopefully I'm able to find words. So I also read a lot of research from a guy named Mark Chaikin. He does Chaikin Money Flow, and there's an indicator that he uses, and not just him, a lot of other folks, called the Titanic drop. And we've had a Titanic drop is when you have such a give back in levels from highs all the way towards a 200-day moving average and below. So we've topped, if you don't remember, this happened less than a month ago. So the top was February 19th, and you had a divergence there and didn't look wonderful. And it was at 613. We've sliced all the way through with just a handful of green days, literally 1, 2, 3, 4 or so, and the rest has been all red. And the problem is with the momentum slowing. So if you look at yesterday's 200-day moving average value, it's 571.99. Today is 572.12. And the day before that was up 15 cents. So this is probably, if we stay wayward here, we're basically going to have that 572 level be significant resistance. We were talking about, a couple of weeks ago about that 610 being significant resistance. Well, now we just lowered the bar. So unfortunately, and we've been seeing this in a lot of stocks rolling over with the buyers going away. So I remember noticing it with Tesla. I was long Tesla at the start of the year, and it peaked, a month after the election is how you would want it to play Tesla. Or actually it peaked rather right before Inauguration Day. Sorry, I misspoke. And that's how you want to play. And I saw a lot of stocks get more weak than they should have in terms of technicals. And you had a lot more volatility expansion. And that's, truth with the VIX where it is. So Coinbase was another example. You saw a lot of the frothy growth stuff. So, and obviously, we're talking about when you look at the ETF recaps I do with the videos, China is, the place to be. Natural gas, also like IBIT, for an extent, but those aren't really U.S. fundamentally based, exposure. Nat gas obviously is called U.S. natural gas, but I'm not saying it's not correlated to U.S. fundamentals specifically, as is FXI, as is IBIT. So the U.S. investor, for the time being, has looked to shop elsewhere. There's reasons why we don't trade over 30 PE for years and years and years. The market is a big candy store, and folks go to where they like. And we're going to look at some stocks today. BILI, XPEV, these things are on fire. It's not NVIDIA, it's not Tesla. So there has been a big shift. The thing that's impressive, like I said, from this Titanic drop, is this happened in less than a month, from 613 to 556. Now, the next thing everyone's saying is, how low can we go? I'm a big believer of the 1 year 50% Fibonacci. I think it's I just use it a lot, and it's pretty crazy how it sometimes gets fulfilled. So anyway, that's a 553 half. So essentially right below, we touched it today. Like I said, this 200-day moving average is going to start to flatten probably by today's Tuesday. If we have this kind of momentum here, probably by, I don't know, early next week, I would think, or middle of next week. So, and of course, I believe we have a CPI number tomorrow morning, I believe. So I don't think, and also you have to understand that the 3-month low is right there at 552. The problem is we're right on it. You have some support here at 540, and it's getting cute. And then you go to the Yen Mageddon levels at 510. And then you're looking at 52-week lows in the face at that point. Then, I mean, at this point, who the heck cares? It's just management 101 and survival. But be like I said, nothing good happens under the 200-day moving average. Put a ticker, anything you have in there. A lot of stuff has moved this week. So again, because the S&P to me is very marvelously fantastic, even on the stomach flu meds. I think we're going to base, so to put it in terms of the calendar and with seasonality and everything else. So I believe there's volatility. Tomorrow's a huge one with CPI, duh. I think we base here in terms of the calendar, everything else, right around, I think this 550 holds where you touched it today. And I think we can oscillate very quickly to 570. I do think some buyers possibly get FOMO. Another thing I wanted to comment on is we got oversold for the first time today. That didn't happen in Yen Mageddon. That didn't happen back here on the April, the 52-week low prior, 419 of last year. So ugly action here. There are sellers of this market. They are freaked out over the tariffs. They're freaked out over the, the efficiency of Doge potentially, and more layoffs from the public sector. So there is, and China has rip-roaring returns and high growth and high ceiling. Like they're not even at 3-year highs, and we're coming off all-time highs with, pretty high multiples. So makes sense. Where Qs could go down a ton, and we're still up, on a 3-year look back. So everyone hold their you-know-whats. But anyway, so in terms of the calendar, I think we try and base here, and we try to get to that 570, potentially as high as 585 over the next 2 to 3 weeks. It is not going to be easy, though. And I think it could take longer than that, and the levels might have to move lower. But that's the best I have for right now. I think 550, we are literally oversold. That 572 value is literally a 10, I say literally a lot, is a 10-month running average of what we believe the S&P, the most liquid market in the world, is worth. It's 572. We've traded below that now, character change, for 2 days. Day number 2, it's on the clock. You never like to see this. I've said this for like a year now. I don't think I've been doing this long on the show. I've been saying it for months now on here. My voice squeaked like Peter Brady. I've been saying it for a while here that nothing good, like I said, happens on the 200-day moving average. And right after you have this a 200-day start to flatten the curve, like we were saying 5 years ago. Crazy week that was, COVID. Happy anniversary of that nonsense. The problem is going to be 52-week lows are imminent. So, and that level, like I said, just for you home gamers there, is 494. So if this starts to go flat, there's going to be a better market in town. They're going to be looking for other stuff. All right. So that's kind of it. You have multiple levels here. I think 550 is a grossly oversold level. I think you should be at, Mark doesn't have to do absolutely anything that I say, but, we are dealing in probabilities. And here's the problem. Your forecasting ability is kind of like you driving in the rain without the wipers. You're going more and more blind as these Bollinger Bands go bigger. Okay. So here you can get it like a fine tooth comb. That's pretty easy peasy potatoes. When it gets like this, things get nuts. Typically, though, it kind of signals a bottom as well when you have that massive expansion. It happened here at Yen Mageddon. It usually sometimes coincides with a low. So we'll see. But yeah. All right. So that's all for that. S&P obviously has to hold 550 is like a gross level. That's like seeing your favorite basketball player score 2 points every game. That's a horrendous figure. It's got to try and grapple to get to 572, which is 16 points away, or about 3%. It's not going to be easy, especially because it's a selling market. As I said before, I don't think I opened with the intraday. So we'll open with the intraday, and then we'll go into the stocks that moved. So here were the stocks. The S&P today ended up ugly trading really until a 130 bottom, and then had a nice rally all the way at 3 o'clock to about 563. And then we traded under VWAP. VWAP was about 557.5. And then we closed it below that by $1. So ugly momentum. This is a sell the rip market. That's what I'm saying. When we're trading under the 200 moving average, there are better shops in town. Let's look at said shops in town. Let's see. Oh man. All right, Verizon. Let's see. Verizon, it's funny. I had a friend just text me about this and say, I don't know what gives, but Verizon's been on fire. And it's a yield play and everything like that. It's multi-billion dollar telecom. These guys come off a 50-week low January 10th. This was not the stock to own, say, beginning of the year, going into the inauguration. 200-day is fine. I mean, it really kind of seemed like consensus that this stock was worth 41 quarter from, I would say, the fall until last month. And then something happened right here. Earnings were here. Jan 24th, but really technical. This is what I love when you combine. So the 200-day started to curl up, barely, but it started to curl up. You registered an overbought, and it closed above the 200-day moving average for the first time, coming off 52-week low. So there's all the reason in the world to own Verizon February 19th. It would have been a gamble, but it would have paid off. So here's the problem. So it went from $42 all the way to 47. Verizon doesn't move like that. It's a dividend stock essentially. High div. Older people buy it for safe income. And now it's going a huge move today, down 6.5%. AT&T was down a lot too. I wasn't going to feature two telecoms in one program because I'm not that boring. But the stock has gone from yesterday, $47 all the way to $43. And now it's, almost on the doorstep of the 200-day. So now what? Very crazy move. Very, very crazy. Obviously, it goes with the market as well. Yeah, I think this one gets distributed again. Like I said, when the overall with the market, the visibility is tough driving in the rain with no windshield wipers. That's what's happening now with the forecasting ability, and these stocks are more more volatile in terms of in multiples than SPY. So the visibility gets even worse. So you really have to look at long-term levels. 200 days where we thought stuff was worth for 10 months. You hope it sticks and that it's kind of an important level. But when SPY doesn't respect it, I can't really expect Verizon or like Reddit to respect it. And we'll look at that later. But anyway, so I think this is one is in distribution mode, but just till right about here. I do think this 41.52 holds, and I do like that it's still held, largely 50 RSI since they reported that earnings report. A lot of things to like here, and the market's a sick place right now, perverse in terms of the buyers and where they're going. It's places that weren't loved before. This has been largely ignored. No reason to own this Jan 10th. No reason. All the reason in the world to own it Feb 19th. So that tells you all you need to know, and that was literally a 5-week turnaround in this stock. So, and that's if you're doing this in terms of single stocks, things move fast. That's crazy. 5 weeks, 52-week high, 52-week low. All right, next one, a big mover higher here. So we'll see how these forecasts go. And usually I like to not, form an narrative. I like to see all this ETFs. It's much more gives you a vision. I used to love the airlines. Jet was my baby. But Delta, so almost like a microcosm, but more volatile than the S&P. This is what you don't hope to see, obviously, in the S&P. So this had highs in January 22nd. Delta is on day 1, 2, 3 of its under 200-day moving average. It is still, it just started to go down about 4 days ago. This really is not a great stock to own. I think it bases around $54. I think this should hold. Basically, kind of what we were saying, like with the market. This looks a little bit stronger than the market, in my opinion. I think this actually reclaims its 200-day with a little bit more ease than SPY. I think SPY has a harder time getting the 572. Then this gets to 54, but that is hard work for it, and that might be as good as it gets. And then that might serve as resistance. Look at the RSI measures here. Ugly. With the lower price, you're getting lower RSI. Delta hasn't looked this bad since the Yen-Mageddon when it put in its 52-week low. That figure, so is $37, and we're at 47. This thing's moving fast. So Crazy movers. Delta down 7% today. I was supposed to go through the up moves first. Well, we'll go all around. So we did Verizon. I did off the headline. I'm tired. So Verizon, Delta. I might as well do the other one that's in. Well, you know what? We'll just go through the losers. Verizon, Delta, and Disney. Same difference. And Disney got hammered today. Disney down 5%. That's a big move for it. Again, what do you see? All different kinds of companies. I'm talking about Verizon, Telecom, Delta. They're in the air. Disney, you watch them and you overpay for their parks, although they are magical and a fun time. But what happened? Day one under the 200-day moving average. It's no different from SPY. No safety or anything like that. No prisoners. It takes no prisoners. Told you I was going to have a hard time finding words. New RSI, oversold measure of 26, oversold. Hasn't looked that bad since the summer where it was coming off 52-week lows. That figure was 84. So not looking good. I mean, this is pretty much what you're going to hear for the market. I will talk about levels, though. I think this space is I think this also reclaims its 200-day moving average. I think the market's getting a little bit too freaked out. I do think the 200-day, in a lot of these instances, do hold, or at least prove to be very near-term graspable resistance, if that makes sense. But I think this reclaims 103. I'll say I don't think we've flown this far away from these valuations in just a month. Although when you're doubling tariffs in a day, sometimes things can change. But I mean, this chart looks like this stock wants to trade about 107, but it's at 98. So I kind of sound nuts, but I think there's a chance that this trades in about 2 to 3 weeks at 107. I mean, like I said, it was here 4 days ago, but the market looks one way right now, falling knife. These stocks do not look like falling knife. Let's see these. These might give us hope. So Southwest Airlines, they're charging out for the bags, $8. This has the opposite, and this is what I'm talking about. So these have held, I mean, for the most part, held above its 200-day moving average, went below it, and now it's going higher. These guys had highs December. Not a loved name, but it's had nice moves here above the 200-day moving average, which is going higher. Ugly trading yesterday that brought it all the way to $28. And now let's see what happens. It's grappling with a 50 RSI, where it's typically failed since New Year's Day. I think this on. Tough one. I think this. I think this oscillates and holds around 30. I think the 200-day does move. It does hold rather, and the ultimate resistance is at 32 because this one looks like it does want to go higher, and they're going into unloved losers. The chart is ugly. That's what I was hiccuping with, is that you have lower highs on this, and then you had this rejection today. So this is a fresh story. We'll see. I don't know how much charging for bags helps you, but I do think this 200-day moving average holds. Again, that's like frustration too. This isn't buy calls or straight buy puts market. If everything what appears is saying, I'm saying, with probability is, I think the 200 days is going to hold. I think the 200 days is going to hold. That's not really fun trading. You're going to take a while to get a turnaround. What's not taking a while for a turnaround? Chinese stocks. This is XPEV. I mean, I have to talk in handles here. This thing was $9 in the fall in September. It's $26, up 15% today. So I haven't said the trees don't grow to the sky phrase for a while about U.S. stocks. I have to start using that now about Chinese stocks, and that's the point. This is crazy. I'm talking about the other stocks I was telling you. 200 days going to hold. Hopefully, this stock is above and beyond what it's done and above its valuation. I have a 23, 24 target for this on the upside. Okay. This thing has just gone all one way. Very few red days in the last week, and today a huge surge. I wouldn't personally chase this here. The 21-day exponential moving average is 19 at 80, which is absolutely crazy. I think it's trading $6 above that. So China's a runaway. As we take just a quick look, I know it's a stock show, but I'm going to look at FXI and what it did today, 1.1. Okay, and this is the FXI. Again, it's just trying to squeak out its 52-week highs when they announced that stimulus October 7th, when she announced, all the monetary help that they were going to give. That was 37.5. It's at 36.40 now. So with a great look at the slope of the 200-day moving average. So absolutely worst places you can be than China. We just did XPEV, right? Yep. And then Reddit. So Reddit's a crazy one because Reddit's been absolutely shellacked. This is actually the biggest loser of the past 5 days. If you own Reddit, you have gotten absolutely hammered, 23% for the past 5 days. I'm going a little long here, so I want to go a little bit quicker. So that's a 2-for-1 on the Reddit. Big loser past 5 days, big winner day, up 14% today. These guys peaked February 10th at 230. I'm going to repeat that, 230 February 10th. They announced earnings a couple days later. The stock has gone essentially straight down, too oversold. The 200-day held, and it's going still higher. Nice slope, and it's trading higher after a nice rebound today. Stock looked great. I wish the S&P did this, but it doesn't really have this kind of. I mean, it did that essentially. Hopefully, the S&P kind of looks like that, But it's day 2 under the 200-day. Reddit never bucked is. I like the stock right now. If you want to take on some risk, I know it sounds crazy. It might not be the area to be in, but if you're going to take a chance on a stock right here, I do personally like Reddit. I think you obviously need market help, but I think this gets to 140. I don't think that's going out on a limb, and I honestly have calculations here that I could get to 155 to 160. So, but again, it needs market help. But Reddit looks good here. I like the 200-day held. Don't love that's oversold for the first time ever in the company's history, publicly traded history in the since the IPO. But the technicals here, I mean, this is holding, and I mean that's insane difference of valuation. Things were 230. You're getting this thing half off, and this is not a million or small company. This is a $19 billion company, but they only do have $1 billion in revenue. So fundamental story, don't love that there. Pretty big PE for that, All right, so that was Reddit. We did Verizon, Delta, and Disney. Those were the losers. Top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. I was just going to repeat. I'm not going to look at the chart again in depth. It's XPEV. So again, biggest losers. Reddit, American company. Uses it all over the world. But yeah, that's the biggest loser. Look at this. Look at this. Overbought. Like this is just not changing. There are buyers. Same picture in your head. Look at that, almost that meme. There's a newsstand, and it's like, oh, who wants to make a lot of money? It's like work hard. No one's in that line. They're like, oh, get rich today, and everyone's in that line. Everyone's in line to buy the Chinese stocks, XPEV, and all that. There are no one really in line to buy the S&P. And if you want to inverse it in your head, there's lines of sellers for the S&P and not lines of sellers for XPEV and Chinese stocks. Okay, best winner in the past 5 days in stocks, XPEV, up an average of 6% per day. Today, doing that 2x. Next one, I'll give you credit. United States, Moderna, not a huge allocation, of course, in the S&P, but again, not a great looking chart. Moderna, big move today. Whoops. Oh, I'm sorry. This was a big move of the past 5 days, up 12% of the past 5 days. It gave back half of it today. I don't want to spend too much time on this. The stock is a loser. You got to be really, really like I said. Yeah, the market's rotating into some stuff that hasn't gotten love. This thing's been an absolute loser since August. No reason to hold this. Much rather see you in Reddit. And if you are trading this for some crazy reason, you have massive resistance at 37 to 39 level. It's not going to get above that. And there's probably a good chance this gets to 27. The 52-week low is 29. So, yeah, I don't like this. This chart looks ugly. And it's already not enjoying. Yeah, 5-day return on this. Like I said, this thing's been averaging 2% a day. This thing was at $29 to $33.70. Wow. So if you capture that move, nice job. It was an absolute pig, and it's probably over. I'll give you another Asian stock, BILI, one of the best moves. It's almost 2% a day, 4.5% today alone, up 9% in the past 5 days. Again, these guys peaked the China week, overbought. Not as strong technical readings like the others, like XPEV, for example. But yeah, still rising 200-day moving average looks great. I mean, in terms of levels, let me see here. This one looks good. I'd rather have an entry. I can't remember actually talking about entries and like justify the prices. Yay. So this 200-day obviously I believe is going to hold. I'd rather see an entry here around $20.80 to $21, and that would set you up better for a $25 target. But this one looks good. It's in the right place. It's in the right country. All right. So those are top 3 gainers of the past 5 days. XPEV, thumbs up ski. Moderna, BILI, thumbs up ski. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. How long have I been going here? 24 minutes. If you have a ticker or something, you want to make this longer for some odd reason, go for it. Worst losers of the past 5 days. Like I spent a lot of time, but like I said, Reddit, just a massive fall. That's why you got to be careful too. If you thought, oh, this is the bottom, I like this support here. it's holding, and there were reasons for it to think that 150 was going to hold in Reddit, and that was too early to buy the dip, and they wanted to test the 200-day on this thing, and that's exactly what they did to yesterday. They actually went below it by about a couple bucks, and then buyer stepped in. But this chart looks good. You got to see what it does. Obviously, this thing is volatile. It has, this could go to 100. 102 or something this week as well. But the chart looks good. I'm speaking in terms of probabilities. But Reddit, your worst loser in the past week, down 23%. Next one, this isn't good to see. Marvell Tech. This has looked ugly. This kind of looks like a microcosm of the S&P, like everything does. Peaked in January 23rd at 127. And gosh golly, not as good as Reddit. This thing has gone under the 200-day moving average, and it's day 4 of that. Oversold readings, and the 52-week low from Yen-Mageddon Day is $53. So we're $14 away from that. I'm just, oh man. I think this base, I don't think it should be heavy lifting for this to get to $80. Okay, I do think this has a short-term 80. You need market help, but I do think it's going to come. This might take 2-3 weeks, but I think this should get to $80. The earnings here were really ugly. This gap will be filled. It's probably going to be painful, but this gap will be filled, that earnings gap. So, and that ends at $83. The problem is I think the 200-day is at 85.42. We'll see that for the short term, that's going to be its resistance, I believe. But I do think 80 is not out of the cards, but ugly readings there. So Marvell, ugly week, down 23% for the past 5 days. And then another one, Robinhood. We'll close with this. Robinhood down almost 4% a day these past 5 days today, trying to buck that trend up 2%. Good looking stock though, peaked February 13th. 200-day is still rising, albeit by about 8 cents now. Should possibly fly if they have ugly days here up ahead, similar to what I said with the market. Let me see. Same similar story. This should base here. I don't think it's crazy that this gets to 40. That's 10%. It's volatile. And then ultimately, I think it potentially has a visit with 45. You need some crypto. You need market help. You need crypto help as well with this. And Bitcoin doesn't look. We'll look at Bitcoin because, why not? But yeah, not a bad place to be. And that would be a big mover if it did get to that $45 from 36. And lastly, let's just look at Bitcoin. What the heck? Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So Bitcoin, compared to other stocks, right? So love the range-bound action here. It looks like it was just a coiled spring, waiting. It peaks January 20th at 109K. Waiting. Wait a second. And then it breaks under a very important 90K. That was the whole box where we were trading from election day, essentially, through the highs and thereafter. 90K is a very important level with the peak 109, we'll call it 110. Now, the 200-day still rising. Like I said, it's starting to thin out like everything. But I think this obviously should hold. A good-looking stock. This did not close under, it's a Bitcoin 24-hour market. But this didn't really trade under the 200-day. Today it did for a touch. The 200-day is 77,444. We touched 76.8 on Bitcoin. I don't think it's crazy to think that we get a visit to 90K over the next 2 weeks or so. The problem is I don't think it has much juice after that. I don't know what pulls it higher. This market overall, Bitcoin and really beta mega cap may need the Q2 earnings that starts mid-April with JP Morgan, and maybe hopefully we get good news there, and maybe we get that Fed cut in June, and maybe laying off on tariffs and some more delays. So now you need a lot more hopium in the market, and hope is not a great risk management and trading tool or strategy. So that's why you got to look at these technicals. A lot of stuff looks wayward. China looks great. I'll have much more insight when I do ETFs soon, either tomorrow or probably the day after. Peace.